little bit of what's going on over the weekend. Melissa, Jeremiah, and what's happening with Hoosier Uplands. Well, first of all, I do have something to read. And Melissa is over the Department of Hospice, and I thought this was cool. Hospice, and it says a definition: a nurse to guide you into the next phase of life, one who is trusted in patients' homes and becomes part of the family. They will fight for you until the very end, and when the time comes, they will ensure your dignity, your wishes have been met, and to comfort you.
That's a very good definition.
I thought that was very kind and very sweet. Yeah. For those who don't know.
I was just going to say that whenever Sean, my son, for those of you that don't know, when he came home, after they told him that they weren't going to be able to cure him and that he was going to be in need of hospice, I immediately, said, we're going to bring him home, and so we brought him home, and I called the hospice team at Hoosier Uplands, and I was even though I'm the administrator, so, I'm the administrator for home health and hospice, so I'm not out in the homes like our staff and our nurses and everything is, and it was definitely what he wanted, and it definitely was a help to all the family. Even though I'm a nurse myself, it allowed me to be able to be mom. I didn't have to worry about all the nursing, type aspect of it. I could just be mom. So, so even if it's someone, that has the skills of taking care of people and things like that, it's still something that everybody needs whenever it's their family, because the family needs time just to be the family.
I agree, and I think that you're so attached and so involved, Melissa. I think that it's nice to hear that voice just helping and and making suggestions or giving some direction or being there just to do something, maybe just even little simple things.
And I think, like she said too, especially being at home taking care of someone, because I've done that before, but at home taking care of someone when you're a nurse, you feel like you need to do that, so it helps when someone else comes in and takes that off of you, so you can be a mom or a grandmother or a sister, instead of feeling like you constantly need to wear that hat as well.
Well, and my husband, I don't want to throw him under the bus, but he was more apprehensive about, are we going to be able to do this at home? And I told him, I said, I promise I will let hospice come in, because at first I was just going to do it. And then, Jeff said, we're going to need help. And so, he was very impressed to be able to see the whole process, because he had never experienced anything like that. And he knew what hospice was just based on that I work for home health and hospice, but he had never experienced it. And so I think he, whenever we got home and, they came in and they set up the DMEs we needed, got the medications we needed, were there, to answer questions even if we didn't need them at the house at the time. We were able to, call and ask questions, because I still had questions, because I'm not a hospice expert, It's my staff that, go out into the homes. They're the experts. And so we were able to call them and ask questions. And it wasn't just because I was the administrator and it was my son. It was, they're there for all their patients. And I was just kind of looking through some of our comments that patients had made in their family. Well, it's the families after the patient has died, and one of the people said that they treated him like they would have if it was their own dad. And, I feel that way. I feel that whenever the hospice staff go out, they're not just, it's not just a job. It's I always say that the hospice staff, it's a calling. It's not just, oh, I think today I'm going to start working for hospice. I think you're led to hospice.
Right. I think you're right. I think that's, I think we've talked about that for years, with hospice, and I think everybody is unique and every story is different, and I think that's I think that's where I can see where, like, where you were talking about you and Jeff, like, having difference, because I think I think that happens a lot of times where there's always somebody that is a little bit maybe a little bit like, well, is this really for us? But then when they allow them to come in and be a part, I think they realize how beautiful actually that it was that they were in your life. And I'm talking about the hospice workers to help.
Right.
So I think that's, well, I think it's such a great program, and I don't know how many years have we had hospice. Do you know, Melissa? Am I putting you on the spot?
You mean like when did hospice, like?
Yeah, when, like in our area, how long have we had it?
I look up a year for like when the hospice Medicare benefit began.
Well, it was like it's older than what we thought, but it's actually it's been around, but I don't know that a lot of people have known about it. I guess that's what
That's horrible. I can't find the year it actually started.
Well, I know we've had it because we've
But I know our Hoosier Uplands, our hospice started October 1st of 1996.
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't even know what hospice was until I started working in healthcare.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of people that are not in healthcare, I mean, for example, her husband, even though she worked there, he was still, questioning things. So imagine, like, if you come from a non-healthcare setting or anything like that, you have no idea.
Right.
So it's nice for people to come in the home and tell you what's going on and what your next steps are. It answers a lot of unknown questions that families have.
Right. But they do it in such a way, it's such a gentle way, and it's so kind and very respectful and very graceful, that it's not like, because some people, I don't want someone telling me what to do, or or I don't want I want to do it and it's not that way.
No.
It's just the opposite. It's very gentle. Everybody's been every hospice worker I've seen has just been like, I think they're like an angel on earth.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in a scary time for the families. That's a hard transition.
Well, and like with Sean, they were offering, because his doctors in hospital, he's always gone to Louisville. He's always been affiliated with U of L, and so they had offered that there's like a hospice house there. You can get hospice care at the hospital on a different floor of the hospital. And then there's also some of the bigger hospices in Louisville that have actual hospice, units. Like we would have, like in our areas, like skilled nursing facilities, they have like a place that is just only hospice. They call it a hospice house. And so they were kind of pushing that really hard. And I said, no, if we do hospice, we're going to do it in our home, in our personal home. And so I don't think Jeff's fear was about hospice. It was, will we be able to manage this at home, and will Sean be comfortable, and will Sean be able to get all he needs care-wise? But then after we got him home, and then Sean was always a very social person, and so his friends just like flooded the house and, stayed with him and, would watch TV and just talk. And I told Jeff, I said, I was just so glad to be able to see him come home for that week and be able to just, like, be around his friends and just be able to have them, talking. And it wasn't like they were talking about him being sick. It was like they were talking about when they played football or when they were in school or concerts they'd been to. And I really think that was one of the biggest benefits of having him at the house, because if he would have been still at Louisville, that would have limited the people. People couldn't just swing by after work or come in and visit them at lunch, or, you know what I mean? It was just different having him at the house, I think.
Sure, makes sense, for sure. Well, I appreciate you sharing that, Melissa, and I hope that, I hope it, plants some seeds, and I hope that, that we keep talking about it, and for other families, and for families that, that have maybe never heard of it or not familiar with it, I hope we've gave a little bit more understanding for hospice and that service is available. I think it's such a blessing.
And if somebody doesn't have like Jeff and I were very fortunate that, we were able to be off and be home with Sean during that week that he was home. But, if you're not able, to be home with someone and be in your own home setting, there are also the options that hospice can be provided in the skilled nursing facilities. So, hospice staff can come in and help coordinate things and work with symptom management and pain control and that sort of thing. And they can be in the skilled nursing facility if, either, there's times where a patient, their children may live across the country, and then their caregiver may be, a very elderly spouse that really isn't able to do a lot of the assistive, the activities of daily living to help them out. So, there is that option of staying local and going into the local skilled nursing facilities.
Right. And that's nice to have those options and to know those options. And I think that's comforting for families to know that. And I think especially, it's nice to know that even at this point in your life, if you're not needing it, but to know that if the road later on you do need it, you'll know about the services and know what's available.
And I did look it up, and hospice services started being paid for by Medicare in 1982.
Wow.
That's quite a while.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think that everybody knew or maybe didn't understand all that was available with it.
Right.
So I think we've come a long way, and I think that's, that it's such a great thing. Well, Melissa, I know we were going to talk about other stuff this morning, but I appreciate you giving us some time and talking about that. But I read that and I thought that was just such a good description of hospice, and I thought that was important. And hats off to everybody involved with the program and everybody and what you do and your whole team, what they do.
Thank you.
All right, and what were we going to talk about today, Melissa?
We were going to talk about being prepared for power outages.
Okay. Bless you.
Hopefully we will not have power outages, but it's always good to be prepared.
Right. Yes, I was going to say. And it's funny because
not that we're calling for a power outage or anything like that.
I know. Watch, everybody's going to be like, Melissa, if something happens tonight, they're going to be calling you. They're going to say, did you speak this in? No, I'm. It's.
If people see a red at the grocery store, it was not of my doing.
Melissa, yeah, I was going to say, because Melissa talked about it this morning on Coffee Club. But here's the thing, it's like, okay, we go along, and then all of a sudden when we have a power outage, it's like we're doomed. We cannot survive.
Yeah.
It's just like silly little things you go to do, and you're like, oh, I can't do that. I can't do this. I can't do that. And I know, like, for grocery stores, and I know with me, with the, the radio station, power outages mean, like, oh, no, complete trauma.
And I know that Sean used to, he had worked at JC forever and ever, and he would always, say, I just don't understand why people buy milk and bread whenever there's going to be some kind of, like if it's going to be snow or power outages or different things, because he says those are the two most, they spoil like the easiest is milk and bread.
Yeah.
We all have to go out and get it.
Yeah. And then a few years ago, remember, it was toilet paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
It does mean a lot, especially like for the stores. I know Walmart, like when they have got some generators, so they kind of, but I know there was one time that they were really worried because, the power was out. And I think that, a lot of your businesses feel that way, but also just a home life, with children and, and homework and,
Yes.
and everything you've got to do, even charging your phone to trying to make supper to, all the different things that come into play.
Yeah, that is true. And, and there's different things that can cause the power to go out. So, I mean, it isn't, always weather. It can be summer. There are summer, things that happen, like with tornadoes and things like that. But then you can, in the wintertime, have, ice. But then you can also just have, like, a car accident or something that knocks out a power, or some kind of a problem at the generator with the power. I mean, so there's all kinds of different things that can cause your power to be disrupted. And one of the things that we kind of had to do some research into was whenever we did recently have some power issues in our area, was about your refrigerator and your freezer. You're like, how long is this food really, good for? And so I know that it will say different things, that you read will say how many days that you can keep things that are frozen, or how many days you can keep things that are just in the refrigerator. That I've always kind of paranoid about, is that really true? What if it unthawed a little bit and then froze back and we didn't know it? So, it is good to kind of, don't just take, like, things that you hear. Like, if you hear that a refrigerator will, like, keep your food cold for around 4 hours, and then if you have a freezer that's full, it will keep for about 48 hours. But, then you have different dynamics of, well, what if it's a freezer that doesn't have as much in it? So it's not going to keep that food as long. Or if, your kids are opening and closing that refrigerator, grabbing stuff out of there while the power's out, well, then that 4 hours isn't going to be 4 hours anymore, because, you really need to try to keep your refrigerator and your freezer, like, closed during that whole entire time that the power is out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think I've heard a lot of screaming, don't open the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Like, I've been the one to screaming that before.
Me too.
And one thing that I heard, it was actually from a surveyor that had came to our facility once. She said that it's a good idea to take, like, a little cup and fill it up with water and freeze it, and then take a penny and put it on top of it and keep that in your freezer at all times, because then you would know, like, whenever at the end of, whenever your power came back on, if that penny is still just sitting on the top of that frozen water, or if it's still frozen, the penny's still sitting there on top of it, things haven't thawed.
Oh.
But if it's in the center of it, they have thawed and refrozen. And then if it's at the very bottom, or if that is water and not, frozen, then to throw out all of that food, because it's not safe, because of it's gone below the temperature it should have been at.
Right. So, well, that's a good idea. I mean, if you have the freezer space, then do that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they said you can even just take, like, one of, like, the little, like the individual ice cream things, like something that size. Like, it doesn't have to be something.
Okay.
Yeah. Something little.
Well, that's kind of a good way to look at it, for sure. I think a lot of times, and I've, been, like, talked to a lot of ladies, you get a little nervous because you hate throwing food out, but then you never know if it's going to be safe for your family. You also want to not do that. My motto is, when in doubt, throw it out.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I know that.
And they said that if you have a thermometer in your refrigerator, that if any food has been exposed to temperatures at 40 degrees or higher for more than 2 hours, then it's for sure bad.
Oh wow. Yeah. Well, that's that's good to know too.
So it is good to kind of plan and try to have things on hand that you can eat that are like canned, type foods, or, things that do not require refrigeration. Things like, I think of some examples. Think of some foods that could just be kept out that wouldn't be in your refrigerator. But like peanut butter, and I guess that would be where the bread would come in, because you need bread for peanut butter sandwiches. Or, there's a lot of, you need to have those things on hand so that if something were to happen and you weren't to have power for a few days, that you wouldn't have to be getting into that refrigerator.
Right. And I'm going to add a little extra, and this might be already on your list, but don't forget, go ahead and get a hand-turned can opener.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Even though you can't, you can't warm anything up, but at least if you can, that. I'll just let it out. I love a good can of cold spaghetti, or spaghetti. It's good.
It's good.
Don't judge me, okay? I
know. They can even have the ravioli.
That's what I was gonna say. Yes, the ravioli. Is it Chef Boyard? Who is it? I don't remember what brand it is.
Something like that.
It's something,
yeah.
I don't know, but
they have the one with meatballs in it.
Yes.
And, yeah.
You open that can up and you'll be the governor. You're gonna be fine, okay?
My grandma always keeps tuna, crackers, peanut butter.
Yeah.
And easy things and I know when we didn't have power in the summer, someone wrecked into the pole in our neighborhood, and my mom made sun tea because it was the summer, so she set it outside. But my grandma is always prepared. But
there you go.
Her big thing is tuna and stuff, so you would need a can opener, I guess. Huh?
Yeah, so definitely. No, I've learned that. Yeah, note to self. That's why I have a hand crank.
Yeah, I can't ever function with the automatic ones anyway. So we just don't jive. It's probably me, but
you can't win them all, Erin.
Yeah.
Okay?
All right, so go ahead, Melissa. I'm sorry.
And then also keep in mind that, if it is, if, there have been times that people have brought a grill into their home, and tried to cook on it, and so, that is a very bad idea because of carbon monoxide. So, don't bring generators, camp stoves, charcoal grills, anything that's supposed to be used outdoors. Make sure those things are 20 feet away from all your windows, and never use any kind of a gas stove top or oven to heat your home. If the power does come back on and you're trying to get it warmed up really quick, also avoid using those things for heating because of the carbon monoxide.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah, that's, you don't even mess around with that. That's kind of scary to even think about that, Melissa.
I have a gas stove. It's the only thing that's gas in my house, and it scares me even when it's off.
But when that
I'm not turning it off. Yeah. I love it because I can use my cast iron skillets a lot.
Yeah.
It's perfect for that. But other than that, it's scary anyway. I'm not turning it on unless I have to. And every time I smell something weird, I'm like, oh God. It's the gas stove.
You realize it's just the gym bag from your son.
Yeah, get out of the house.
Well, no, I think that's yes, and good reminders. But I hope that people don't do that. That's why the great outdoors is out there, right?
Right.
And I've seen people you take lemons and make lemonade, where they've taken and the power's out and they take their grill out there, go outside and grill some beautiful steaks and stuff. I seen one family one time and they were like, we're having a great meal, you know what I mean? And no electricity at all.
I think that's a good idea, because it also would give your kids, something to kind of look forward to, and they could play outside for a little bit while you're outside cooking, and it could be like a little picnic or something.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's that's the good way to do it, Or okay, we just we can't cook, so we're just gonna have to eat this box of cookies, this bag of cookies, okay? Oh, you're making me do that, okay?
I have to eat these cookies and donuts.
Oh yeah. I had to do it. Couldn't cook that healthy food. Couldn't cook those.
We're afraid the ice cream's going to go bad, so we're just going to go ahead and take it out of the freezer now, and we're going to eat it first.
That's a real thing, Melissa, okay? We can't judge each other on that, right?
Nope.
That's the first thing that gets said.
Trying to save food. You don't want to throw it away.
No, you got to eat it all. Just grab a spoon and go.
Yeah.
And then also, if the power is out for more than a day, to discard any medications that have to be refrigerated. Because sometimes people they think about their food, and if it's going to be bad or not, that also keep that in mind for any medications that require refrigeration.
Ooh, I never thought about that. That's true.
Either.
That's very scary, isn't it? Yeah,
I say that if you have a question about it, to consult with the pharmacist.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Well, I think well, that's very scary. I never thought about that. I guess there would be medication that would be need to be refrigerated.
I know, like, when Cameron was little, I think his, liquid penicillin, or I know that he had some liquid medication that had to be in the fridge for a while.
Yeah.
But I never thought about it if the power went out.
Well, that's very very good information there, too, Melissa. And like you said, talk to the farmers. Talk to a professional on that, for sure.
And then things that you can do to prepare for a power outage before it happens is you can take an inventory of items that you need that rely on electricity, and see if there are some of those that you can replace with something that is non-electric. So like now, for example, they make like a lot of the little lanterns that have like the candles in them that they're not really candles. They require batteries, but they look like a candle, and they have like a little lantern around them. Maybe get some of those for some of the rooms, because those put out more light than what people realize whenever you're sitting in the dark.
Oh, I'm 100% with that. I found the cutest. They looks like little campfires. It looks like a little, and you just push the button in, and the light comes on. And I had and they work beautiful.
Yeah.
And those are nice, especially but I'm a candle person. I do love candles.
Yeah.
But that was just so handy, just to, when the electricity, when we just had that bad storm, the tornado came through, it worked out really well.
I always use wax melts.
Oh, yeah.
And I never even think about it. And then when we didn't have power, I was like, wow, I don't even have a candle in this house.
Well, you better go out and buy a candle right now. Okay, Erin's leaving right now. She's going to go.
You gotta go.
Well, before you leave, you might want to listen to the rest of the list so that you can
there we go.
these.
We're Erin's shopping list.
Yeah.
That's right, Erin.
And then you need batteries to go ahead and have a stash of batteries around, because it never fails that the things that have batteries, whenever you need one of them, you go to pull it out, and then the batteries are dead.
Boy, that's true.
All the time, and then you don't have any batteries in your home when you thought you had 12.
Yeah, exactly. That's very good. That's for sure great.
And then sign up for local alerts and warning systems on your phone, so that you can have your phone set up so that if there is bad weather expected to come through, it will send out those warnings. And I know that when the tornadoes came through here a couple of months ago, there were a lot of people that were woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning that would have slept right through that, and may not have been safe if they wouldn't have had those indicators.
Yeah, you're right, absolutely. And I was amazed at some of the people that this last one we just had, which was really bad, the storm. I was amazed at people that said they slept through it. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I don't know that, but yes, I think definitely we need to, and we're working on that. I think we've come. I'm so proud of and I'm going to brag on the National Weather Service and the weather, and everyone, because they are really rocking it. As far as like years ago, we didn't have the little bit of heads up that we have today. Now, sometimes, they're right on point. Sometimes they're a little bit off, but they're still, I'd say their track record is pretty good. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I agree. I mean, especially for the bad weather. They may be off on if it's going to rain, today or not, or the things that really aren't of great importance. I mean, it is important, but you know what I'm saying. It's like that if you're watching the weather and they say that there's tornadoes or high winds or severe thunderstorms, or there's going to be ice, it seems like that they're really good at hitting those major issues.
They are, and then they have like when they can. I'm really just so happy the way. I mean, like, they give you a little bit of like heads up. Like, they'll have meetings, like, we'll get on conference calls and they'll tell us, what's coming and what's the possibilities and what it could be looking like and what it's like, and then they'll let us ask questions. I'm just so happy with that, because I think that's such a blessing that if we can kind of get a little bit of a heads up, and let's say worst case scenario they're not right, but we still went through and went through the procedures, which is a good drill.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I'm bad about that because I don't watch TV a whole lot, and I don't keep up with the weather on my phone, so when something happens, I have no idea, honestly. So Cameron's always like, "Mom, we knew this was coming," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, okay."
Cameron's your weather spot.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I think that, having like your phone set up, so that you'll get those alerts, because like Jeff and I are horrible about, we sporadically watch the news, and we had no idea that anything like that was even possible. And then at like 1 o'clock, both of our cell phones start going off, and Jeff comes in. I go, "What is that noise?" And Jeff comes in and goes, "You need to go downstairs." He goes, there is a tornado warning. He goes, "It's not a watch, it's a warning, and it's expected to be here at like 1:15. And so, we would have just been asleep. We would have never known it.
Right. And that, and those are things, and especially, I don't know, when you work hard and play hard, when you get to sleep and get to bed, it's hard to, sometimes you don't hear everything, and especially if you're one of those heavy sleepers. I'm not a heavy sleeper, but for those that are, that's, it makes it a little scary there.
And then the people that still have landlines, they need to make sure if their phone will work if there's a power outage. And if not, find out how long of a battery backup they have. And then for us that have, cell phones, we need to plan on, if we know that there's something, headed our way, make sure that we've got those phones charged up in advance. And then try to limit your activity, although that's hard when you're in a power outage, and because that's the first thing you want to do is be on your phone.
Right. You're right. That's right.
And then also with the flashlights, make sure that you have a flashlight with extra batteries for all of your members of your household. And, let them keep, even like, kids that are old enough to have a flashlight, let them, have that in their room and have them know where that's located, because if the power were to go out and they needed to, to get to safety, or, there could be other emergencies that could come up where that they need to be able to use that flashlight to to get to your room or to get to your meeting point.
Yeah, that's true. That's good. Good food for thought for sure.
And then the other thing is to always try to keep your gas tank at least a half a tank, which I'm horrible about not doing that myself. But, you know, in case the power was to be down and you wouldn't be able to get gas because those would rely on power.
Oh, yeah. True.
And then, you know, the other thing that I feel like that we should mention, even though it's not on the power outage list that FEMA puts out, but to always have like a meeting point in case something happens, you know, to your home and you need to meet up, you know, somewhere. And that could be, you know, winds, it could be tornadoes, it could be a fire, it could be, you know, any reason that you would have to evacuate your house. You need to have all of your children and, you know, the people that live in your home know where that you guys are going to meet up so that everyone will know everyone in that house is safe.
Yeah, I agree. That's good. We used to do drills at home, and yeah, and it's just good to know, you know, where to go and everyone meet to make sure that everyone, you know, is safe. And that's scary. That's a scary thought when you can't find, you know, everyone or something. Like if somebody's, you know, in upstairs or down or doing something or whatever, or and then something happens and you can't find everybody. That's a good idea.
And to also keep in mind that, like, whenever you are setting up your plan, like, for instance, we live in a subdivision, so we wouldn't want to meet in the neighbor's yard across the road from us because there could be, you know, like emergency vehicles and things that would be running up and down that road. You would want to meet somewhere where if you can avoid crossing a road, meet somewhere else. So, like, you know, it'd be better for us to meet, like, in the back of our yard between, like, where there's, like, more of an open area behind our yard than going over to the neighbors where someone could be hit by, like, an emergency vehicle.
Yeah, that's good thought, too, yeah. Melissa, do you have any more? Because I have a question after we get our list done.
No, I don't have any more.
Okay, well, I've got a question, and maybe you kind of touched on it, but maybe we can go a little bit further. Okay, like for an elderly person that's supposed to do, what are an elderly that are supposed to do during a power outage when they're on oxygen or when the power goes out? That was someone texted me the question.
I think that, you know, what you need to do is before that happens, you know, like whenever you're still in this preparedness stage, you need to ask the supplier of your oxygen what they recommend. Because I think it's going to be different for different people and different people's situations. Because, you know, there's some people that may be okay as long as the oxygen's only off for 4 hours. But then you have some people that are going to have to go onto oxygen, and like their concentrator isn't going to work because the concentrator is going to be plugged in. But then like the portable tanks, like you've probably seen like the green, you know, cylinder type tanks that have oxygen in them. A lot of the DME companies that supply the oxygen will leave a couple of those as an emergency backup.
Oh, good.
And then there is also times that you can notify a power company that you have someone like in your home that, you know, depending on the severity of how much they need the oxygen. I mean, like if you have somebody that is on a ventilator at their house, they're going to be, you know, like in a lot more need than someone that just uses oxygen occasionally.
Yeah.
So I do think that there are times that somehow or another, but like I said, I would get with the provider of that oxygen to see the process. But I do think sometimes they can be put kind of on we need to get the power back on here before maybe we get it back on there because of this individual.
Right, right.
And then there may be times where the person has to be removed from their home if they can't get the oxygen replaced in a timely manner.
Right.
I feel like that should be worked out with the provider of the oxygen.
Well, these are good questions to ask, with the provider. Right. If someone, is going to go on oxygen or knows someone that is, these are definitely questions to be prepared and to know, prior to if there is such an event.
Right, because it's a lot better to know, if this happens, then we need to switch out their concentrator with this other oxygen, that they have in the home until until the power comes back on. And it could be as simple as that, or if, they are going to have to make other arrangements, then you need to go ahead and have those plans in place now versus waiting until it happens and then trying to find out your solutions.
Exactly. And I think that, and let's talk about the dialysis. I know I'm on the emergency management team, and I know that's something that our community, and I'm sure every surrounding communities, when there is like a storm or something when they can't get out, and maybe that's something that they really try to make sure that they know those spots, and like anybody that's on dialysis, or I think that like they kind of keep their names to make sure that they can get back and forth.
Right.
And I think that's a blessing again for another service, and to make sure that you are, I don't know if signed up or your name on the list or whatever. And speaking of that, I think we are, in my mind, what we've talked about this morning so far has been more summer, but and trying to make sure but also, what about for those in the winter that lose electricity and trying to stay warm?
Yeah. I would say, like there are going to be times where that people are going to have to be removed from their home, and there's going to be maybe a community location that is set up with someone that has power, so that if the heat or the cold are extremes, then they may have to be removed to these, like a cooling center or a warming center. But then, like, if you have a situation where, like, it's the whole town, and, that would be harder to, try to find if, like, a whole town was affected.
Right. And I think it's, I know, again, I'm talking from experience with our community, and I'm sure other communities do too. I'm not dismissing that we're the only ones, but I do like our law enforcement and our emergency management teams and fire departments. They will knock on doors to make sure that people are okay, and check on maybe those that maybe live alone, or just making sure. I know they've went around before, and just to and I think that's a blessing, and I think that's really great for a community to do that.
No, I agree. But I do feel though that one of the things that everyone needs to do is start preparing now. Prepare before the situation comes up, so that you'll know what to do. Like, and especially if you're on dialysis, or if you're on oxygen, or if you're getting like some kind of IV infusions at home, or if you're supposed to be going to dialysis, every other day, or if you're having chemotherapy, or there's all this list of things that people have to leave their home for emergencies and medical needs, and try to have those plans worked out in advance, because it's a lot better to follow your plan whenever something happens than to try to come up with a plan after it happens.
Well, and that, yeah, you're right. In an emergency, sometimes it's hard to think 100%, and when you already have a plan of action, you already know what to do and your procedures to go through.
And like you said, there's going to be those times where, like, you've made the plan, but something isn't, right with the plan, 100%, but at least it would give you, the starting points of who to contact. Like if if you're on dialysis, you're going to have that number written down for your dialysis center that you're going to, so that you can contact them and be able to run things past them as to what you should do. Or, if you're on oxygen, you're going to know the name of your supplier, have that written down so that you can contact that supplier and find out what you need to do. Instead of trying to find a phone number, trying to figure out what you're supposed to do, you can, call them. And also have those names shared with your family members.
Yeah, and I think another thing, too, is don't be afraid to ask for help.
Right.
And I think that's something that if it does not take long for your house to get really cold fast. And there's only so many blankets or something if you are without electricity, or if something, or maybe groceries or something, don't be afraid to ask, because, people will help. You just, sometimes people don't always know that.
Well, and also, like in our community, I know that several people, we do not have one, but I know that several people in our neighborhood have generators, because you can hear them running whenever the fire's out, so, or, a lot of people in this area have, kind of just think outside the box, kind of thing, but, a lot of people in our areas have campers, and, different things that they would be able to heat or cool if they needed to. So, if you know that you're somebody that would, if there was like an elderly person in your neighborhood and you had a generator and, you had that generator going and your home was warm or cool, and you know that there's like a 90-year-old widow that, lives in your neighborhood, go by and check on them and offer, would you want to come over to our house, during this time? Because I do think that most people in our community are willing to help out their neighbors and people that they know that are in need.
Oh, I agree 100%. That night, when the tornado just a few weeks in, maybe, I don't know, time, I lose track of time, was it a few weeks ago? I was amazed because, I was out and about, but it was such a blessing to watch how many neighbors were checking on neighbors. And like people down the road were, just going to find out, are they okay? Because there were so many trees that were actually on houses or, on the, I thought that was very awesome to see how many people actually do check on others.
Right.
So those are just good food for thought, good information, Melissa. And I do have this that came in from Wslm Utilities, and over the weekend, we've seen a lot on social media and I've heard from a lot of people talking about the discoloration of our water here in the community. So this was actually, I want to make sure this is a public service announcement. Wslm Utilities, attention utility users. Over the weekend, several pockets of dark water have come about. Crews and engineers are trying to get it out of the system. They are checking now on any leaks in the system, and we know that there's a huge inconvenience to all users. Consumption is fine. No boil water advisory is in effect. So I know that there's been a lot of photos taken of the discoloration, and I know that for a lot of people that are on Wslm Utilities, there's been a lot of discoloration, but that was put out from Wslm Utilities. But again, I say that in my opinion, this is my opinion, that if you do not feel that it's safe to consume, then bottled water, or how you have to do what's best for you and your family.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Becky, like you had said earlier when you said, if in doubt, throw it out. Kind of keep that in mind for, other things. If you're not sure if something's safe or not, or if you don't feel that it's safe for your family, even, there may be some people that feel comfortable with something and other people that don't. Just follow your own gut and do what you feel is safe for your family.
Exactly. And I think that goes, across the board. So, Melissa, you're fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. And, and it's very interesting, and it's good, on a day where we don't necessarily need it, but it's always nice to have this, and to have this knowledge. And, you might think, oh, I don't need it tonight, but, but hopefully, when it does, or should you, not, I hope nothing comes about, but if we do need it, it's there in our, planting good seeds of people to know, and knowledge to know how to behave and how to do things, should there be an emergency or should be a power outage.
Well, and I will say that, that FEMA have put together on their website, and we're using them with our patients, and also, that's where I've gotten a lot of the information from I've been discussing. They have started a whole new series, and it's Be Prepared. And so it's like be prepared for active shooters, for avalanches, for, just every kind of situation that you can think of. And then it breaks it down into the things you should do now before it happens, during the situation, and then after the situation. And I feel that they've got a lot of information that's good information for us.
Awesome. Well, Melissa with Hoosier Uplands, thank you so much, and thanks Hoosier Uplands, all that you do. And if anybody wants to know more, we have entered into fall now, and you'll be getting in for the heating assistance and all of that. If anyone wants to know all of the different, I guess, I think of it like you got the mothership, but all of the different, because you do, from 0 to 100, you guys take care of people. You guys do a great job in the counties that you're in. But if someone wants to get a hold of you or get a hold of Hoosier Uplands, how do they do that, Melissa?
They can call 812-849-4447. And we do have, the majority of things are in this building, but we do have some things in other buildings, and they can put you through to the person you need to speak with or give you the number that you need to call.
Awesome.
That's 812-849-4447.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Melissa, and have the best day ever. And Erin, will you thank our sponsors this morning?
Sure. Meadowview Healthcare, Walmart, Salem Crossing, Hoosier Uplands, Americans for Prosperity, Fox Pearly Wealth Management, Leader One Financial, Fantastic Sam's, and Dr. Black's Eye Associates.
All right, and Hoosier Uplands, thank you for being great sponsors too. Melissa, thank you for all you do. Keep up the great work. And Erin, Melissa, let's have the best day ever, okay? Thank you.
Sounds like a plan.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Erin. Bye, Becky.
Bye.
Let branch manager Autumn Scott Hall and her staff at Salem's Leader One Financial Office on the public square help you live your best dream with just the right financing. Autumn and Camissa are licensed for all FHA, VA, USDA, conventional, and jumbo mortgage programs. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, seasoned real estate investor, or simply looking for refinancing options, Autumn's team will help you and ensure you receive the right mortgage for your unique financial situation at a competitive and fair price. They'll communicate with you all the information you need to know when you need to know it, while offering the best mortgage loans for your financing needs. Call today to get started, 812-883-0670, or stop in and see Autumn or Camissa today at 18 Public Square, Suite A in Salem. We're ready to open the door to home ownership for you.
Hi, folks. Robert Quigley here, America's Independent, Washington, D.C. We're on the road to the White House. Today, we're going to talk about the 2024 general election, Biden versus Quigley versus Trump. First and foremost, folks, the 2024 election is going to be a unicorn election. I'm going to take the White House. It's going to be it's been a long time since an independent won the White House, and we're going to do it again in 2024. First and foremost, don't think for one moment that Democrats and Republicans are on your side. They use the language of helping Americans. It's BS. Each one of the parties are after the 4,000 plus cushy senior executive service jobs. Those jobs are always awarded to the party who takes power. They pay $141,000 plus per year. Folks, they don't care.
Warning. This This program may be found offensive by pencil-pushing, bean-counting, research-loving program directors and radio consultant gurus.
Well, I was rolling down the road in some cold blue steel. I had
That's done, young Broderick.
back and a beautician out the wheel.
6 minutes past.
Going downtown in the
From Sweet Home, Alabama to the world. It is a brand new hour of the Rick and Bubba Show.
Oh, I'm bad.
I'm nationwide. The gang is all here ready for a brand new hour.
Yes, I'm bad.
Where are we, boys? I'm nationwide. Welcome back, Bill Bubba Buster.
Rick, glad to be here. Thank all of you for joining us. All we ask for is 5 hours each and every day. Doesn't seem like too much to me.
Well, I'm bad. All right, did y'all tell Adler what we were just talking about?
Yeah,
Did we?
we were talking about some of the games this weekend, still some of the oddities of it. And if you missed the Auburn Texas A&M game, you saw one of the more stranger moments when Jimbo Fisher is caught out on the field in the middle of the play.
He almost makes a tackle. All right, so what happened here? It's a scoop and score.
Yeah, there's a A&M's running. Well, here you go.
Flag down, lost the football. It pops up in the air.
My goodness!
Being chased by Johnson. Asante, touchdown.
That's their only points of the day.
Yep, there was Auburn.
There was the offense, a scoop and score.
But you saw.
What was Jimbo's at the hash? Yeah, he's way on the field. I mean, he's way out there.
But
in the middle of the
and
play.
he's actually behind
Look,
his line.
look.
That's funny.
Good night.
He is lucky he didn't get run over.
You're
in
right.
that particular
Yeah.
spot.
Yeah.
But he thought he didn't see the fumble. He thought the play was over, and he was stepping out trying to see what had happened.
That is.
And here comes an Auburn guy up the sideline.
What if they go breaking down the film, even though A&M won the game, so it might be lighthearted enough to do it? And I would say, Coach, I could have caught him if you hadn't been in the way. You blocked me.
If I was an A&M player, that's what I would say.
Next time, trip him,
Coach, you blocked me. Yeah.
Funny.
So what's going on with 7 since we've opened this store back up again? And boy, 8. I saw 8, and we have to look at 8. 7? This is the USC game. So I never watch USC unless they get an early game because they play so late at night.
Yeah, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah. Well, I guess he wasn't ready for this snap, guys. He just, if you can see here, he kind of looks away, and then the snap comes. And unfortunately,
he's trying to stop it. And it hit him right where you don't want to hit with a snap.
Yeah.
And
he's down.
That's bad.
You know, you can't hide where that was hit.
Number 13 is down.
Your reaction's just the same.
I wonder.
Yeah.
All the guys, we don't like showing compound fractures anymore because Theismann, actually caused PTSD in a generation who was watching Monday Night Football. Yeah. Do you think though, with guys on this, we'll start? Let's not look. We don't need to show that. Don't show that.
It is a strange thing when you see that though. You feel the pain too. You know what I mean? It's immediate.
I can't pronounce this kid's name, but the kid from Florida.
Yeah.
This catch. How big are his hands?
I don't know. Some
mean,
people are calling it a glove catch, but this catch might be one of the catches of the year here. I cannot believe.
Oh my goodness! I mean, it's all one hand the entire way.
Yeah.
And he catches it like you catch a baseball.
Charlotte.
Watch right here. Look right here. Look.
He got hit right after that.
It's all. He just palms it.
Yeah.
It hangs
as it goes by, Rick.
Jimbo Fisher's in the way.
Yeah.
All right, but did you see? He never brings that ball in and gets hit while catching it with one hand.
Yeah, it's that catch.
That
is amazing.
That's as good a catch as I've ever seen.
Yeah. Again, that pass is high.
Whoever makes that glove, I believe they need to sign him to an NIL deal right now.
You never know. These guys are getting so big and their hands are so big. Some of them can just grab the football like we'd be picking up a softball or something. Yeah.
Nicely played.
Those gloves are pretty good. Though.
They are.
How sticky they are.
Yeah, I don't. There it is. So, and then we do have a Saban today.
Yeah.
So he explains how they blocked Ole Miss's punt. Is he being facetious here? Is he annoyed?
This is a post-game breakdown.
Because I love when he's annoyed.
This is real. This is just him just giving us a post-game breakdown.
Okay.
And it's pretty interesting, and there's so much going on in the game of football.
Much.
It's a battle.
What a
single
chess
time.
match.
Okay. Here he is.
We love it when Coach has got the clicker in his hand, and it's presented by CBS Bank.
Well, we're going to
this
show
coach
this
is
in
showing.
our close-up. This is the block punt. So you see there a three-man shield.